Degrees Sag. I'm your host, Kim Lala, and we've got a fabulous spiritual friend of mine in the house tonight on the show. Her name is Peggee Reeser. And Peggy, we have been, it's so funny because we've been aligned on so many different occasions. She is a fantastic psychic, intuitive medium. She gives amazing, accurate readings. She gave one to me. Everything came true. So, yes, you better write her name down when she gives you her information. She is also a Reiki master, and she's going to go into the two different kinds of Reiki that she's certified in. But other than that, she's got a heart of gold. She has been through some ups and downs, and we tonight, it's September 6th, Wednesday, and we're kind of in this weird track right now in transitioning. Venus has finally gone direct, but now Jupiter is retrograde and Mercury is retrograde. So we've got a lot of inside shifts happening. And with Jupiter being in retrograde, this is a wonderful time to expand a lot of inner vision and to increase your personal perspective. So anytime a planet goes retrograde, it really means you're working on the inner self, in your soul growth. So you expect results on the inside, not to really see it on the outside just yet, because when those planets go direct, that's when you get the validation that you put in the work. So we're going to talk about that a little bit too. But the topic of the show tonight is Shift Happens. Please meet my guest, Peggee Reeser. Hi, Peggy.
Hi, Kimla. It's so nice to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We've known each other for years. We're in the same line of work. We've worked for the same people. We are also hosts, and we'd like to think we're positive influencers
Yes.
on many different levels. But I always ask people, were you aware when you were a child that you had all these insights and these gifts?
Well, I was, but the funny thing about it is, I thought everybody had the same gifts. My family never taught me. My grandmother was very psychic. I grew up knowing that if grandma dreamed of a tornado, somebody in the family within 48 hours was going to die. That was just a fact. We just grew up with that. And then I talked to people from the other side, but I thought everybody did. And when it
Right.
came, I think I was like third grade, and I was out on the playground. And remember those red rubber soccer balls or dodgeballs,
Yeah,
whatever?
sure.
This one girl, it was my job to clean up the balls. I had to bring the balls in at the end of recess. And she got mad at me, so she threw the ball out of my range, so I had to go get it. And her grandmother told me very clearly, tell her that I said I don't appreciate her acting that way. She was raised better. So I did what I was told. And the girl started crying. She goes, you can't talk to me like that. My grandmother just did. I'm like, well, yeah, I know that. I was just third grade. I thought everybody, So, oh my God, it was a big, you know, deal. I had to got sent to the office because I made this little girl cry. And then I got home. I got spanked. I got a grounding, you know.
Yeah,
And so I kind of shut it down for a while. I
sure.
was still here, but I just didn't talk, I just didn't talk about it. And then in my late teens, early 20s, my best friend said, I've heard about this stuff called Reiki. You want to go with me? I said, sure, let's do it. So I got attuned to the Usui Reiki 1 and 2. And back in the day, to get a master's, it was, $10,000 to get a master's in
I
Reiki.
remember, yes.
And my first thought was, oh, well, heck no. That is, I'll just have to take what I've got. And we'll go from there and see what happens. Eventually, they reduced their rates, and my best friend's, another best friend of mine, her daughter took a Reiki course. I said, oh my gosh, I said, asked the teacher if I bring her my certificate, if she'll let me sit in and have a refresher course. So she did, and it just opened it up floodgates like crazy. Stuff started downloading, coming in, and it's like it took that to open up the doors again for all my intuitive senses to come back, right? So then it was like, oh, I really like this. This is what I want to do. But of course, the real world, I had to work. And I kept hearing about the angels, working with the angels. And I thought, you know, I'm in my 30s by this time, late 30s. And she came up and she said, there's going to be a master's class, but it's over in Stonehenge. And that's always been my dream, to go to Stonehenge. And it was being done by William Rand, who's like the head honcho with Reiki here in the States. So I thought, why not? Let's just do this, right?
Yeah.
So I did it, and we had our master attunement at Stonehenge.
That's so powerful.
It was extremely powerful. I had an amethyst and a bead bracelet. That I say everybody took certain things, and you set them down in the circle, and then we each got our attunement. And when we got done, even William said this was a powerful group. And we looked at our jewelry or stones; everything had changed. The amethyst that was on the beads on my bracelet, every single one of them had white streaks running through it. So it's very powerful.
Very powerful. Now, is this when they did not have the barrier around it?
The only way you could get past the barrier is if somebody like William was coming into it.
Ah, okay.
So we got to go inside. We were inside
the inner circle.
Yes.
Oh, that's powerful.
We were not allowed to touch the stones, but you could put when you power up with Reiki, for me, my hands get really hot. Even talking about it, I've got energy flowing out, right? But you put your hands up against those stones, but not touch them. You had to keep your hands away from them. You weren't supposed to touch them because it's helping deteriorate them, right? And but you could feel the energy just vibrating. I mean, it was, talk about getting high on energy.
Yeah, well, that's built right on the St. Michael ley line right there.
Yes.
And that energy is such a primary portal. Yes. That it's just coming right up through there. And if you learn how, to direct that energy, wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just kind of sends you to the next dimension.
Right. It clears everything out and you're ready to go. Well, then he had just come up with the Reiki called Karuna, which Karuna is, for lack of a better description, it's more of the angelic.
Oh, I thought it was Hawaiian. That's
so
funny.
It's that softer. It's a feminine Reiki is basically what it is. That feminine energy, which has the softness to it, but has, to me, it takes Usui Reiki and kicks it up a notch. What was that old chef that said that? Let's kick it up a notch, whatever. That's what Karuna was for me. And the angels just started coming in, and then I'm thinking, the angels aren't going to talk to me. That's just, that was when I was a kid. That was whatever, So things started happening, and I heard after I got my Karuna Masters, you need to take an angel class, I'm thinking, that was when I was a kid. That's old stuff. I don't need to do that, And I kept ignoring it. And then I just felt like they were just hitting me over the head, like, Peggy, pay attention. So I found someone who taught the class, and I can still remember, and I'm sure they do as well. I stopped the whole class because the whole time that the teacher was talking, I'm sitting there going, why am I even here? I smoke, I drink, I've done all these things. The angels aren't going to talk with me now. None of that, right? I was a truck driver. I can talk like a truck driver. How's this even possible, right? And so I raised the question. I just stopped the class. I said, I have to know, how are the angels going to talk to me? There's no way they're going to talk with me. And the teacher laughed and said, Peggy, you don't have to be an angel to communicate with the angels. I said, oh, thank God. And the whole class cracked up laughing, but that's how I approached it. And it's just like it opened up the floodgates for me. It gave me permission, because for me, it was the self-doubt, I'm not good enough for the angels, who would come see me or talk with me to get the angels messages.
Right. Yeah.
And the thing about it is, when I look back on all the things, and we'll talk about some of them because I think it's prevalent to the conversation of shift happens, the things that have gone on in my life. I moved from Gardner, Kansas to Phoenix because my son had moved there with his then wife and my granddaughter. And for all those who know me really well, know that Haley's my life. That's my granddaughter. She's my heart. She's my kid. And but I had to move my mom and dad from Oklahoma or Moore, Oklahoma, to Kansas because they both had Alzheimer's. So I was a caregiver for them. I think it was over 15 years, 13 to 15 years. And it was hard. I thought, what am I doing? Why am I doing
Yeah.
this? But it's the way, if you're in the Midwest, that's how you're raised. You take care of family no matter what. And after they passed, and I went to Arizona, I sold everything here in Kansas, and left and thought, okay, a brand new start, right? I
Yeah.
thought, I had two husbands that I had divorced here in Kansas. Um, at the time, I knew one was deceased. I didn't know the other one was, but both of them were deceased. And so I thought, oh, brand new start, fresh. It's time to let go of the past, and I thought I had. So now you put me into Phoenix, and I'm there for, I think it was 4 years or 5 years. And I kept hearing California's where you need to go. And in between time, I had traveled quite a bit. And I got to go to Brazil. And that was an amazing spiritual journey. A lot shifted with me there. And again, I was hearing my next step in my spiritual revolution, or evolution, I should say, was California. So I thought, to leave Haley, I'm like, okay, I just stepping out in faith, right? And so I'm all excited, and I moved there. It was nothing like what I expected. I rented a room from this acquaintance of mine, and I had an astrological reading. It was real interesting. After I've been there, I stayed there, I think it was 15 months. And in that time, I had an astrological reading done. And he told me point blank, Peggy, you put yourself in jail. And that's exactly what it felt like. I was in this 10 by 10 room.
I told you not to go.
Yeah. But you know what? I needed to go. But it's
Yeah.
really funny. Again, shift happens, right? So I'm paying attention. I'm listening to my guidance. It says go to California. I go to California. I'm miserable. I took a part-time job working at Amazon in the night shift. I was told by my coworkers, here I'm the old lady, and there are all these young kids, and they were saying, you need to slow down. You're making us look bad. And I'm like, that's your problem, not mine. But it was really funny because I would get in the car after I get off work, and I would drive home. But by the time I got home, which was a 40-minute drive, my body had locked up on me. So I had to get out of the car, because I was all stiff and sore. And then I started having some pains, just real severe pains. And I was at work one night, and I was talking to this young kid, a real nice guy. And all of a sudden I thought, oh, I'm going to get sick. And I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of him. So I said, excuse me just a minute. I need to go to the restroom. Trying to be polite about it. And I go to the bathroom, and I got deathly ill. And normally
Oh,
after you get sick, you feel better. But I had no relief. It intensified. And then they wanted to take me in an ambulance. Well, I didn't have insurance. I said, no, no, no. I'll drive myself home. So in the car, I'm like, please, Archangel Michael, please get me to the house safely. Please, please, please. Don't let me hurt somebody else. That was my biggest fear, that I would wreck and hurt somebody else. I
yeah.
get home, and my roommate, I called on her. I said, something's really wrong here. I need you to take me to the hospital. And I was there 2.5 weeks, had 2 emergency surgeries. And once that was all done, I heard, go home now. I'm thinking, what the hell? I move out here. I'm out here 15 months, go through all this hell. But it's because California's laws, if you don't make enough money, then you get covered with insurance. And so I think that's why they had me go to California. It's because I could go there and get the surgery I needed, even back then, that I had ignored, and got it all taken care of. And once I was healthy, I got just enough back on my income tax refund that year to get me from California back to Arizona, right? So then again, shift
So
happens.
let me ask you a question. I mean, you're going through all of the, these health challenges. You've got, you know, you you went out there with expectations that weren't met. You know, was there anything during that time that grounded you, that made you feel as though, okay, I'm still on the right path. Okay, I can still pick up the pieces, and where am I going to get my energy from? I mean, how do you deal with those kind of waves when they hit you and then they hit you again?
Well, for me, I've always been a scrapper, I guess is the best way to explain it. I didn't grow up in a good, healthy environment, and I really didn't ever have anybody to rely on but myself and the angels, right? So to me, it was going through life, just, surviving. And
Mm-hmm.
I've always been, even through all the crap I've been, and people have even asked me, how come you're so friggin' cheerful all the time? How come you're so positive? Well, it's a waste of energy not to be.
Mm.
And when I was younger, don't get me wrong, when I was younger, I mean, I could have a pity party that would last a month, 2 months. I could let it go on. We party hard, with the pity party. But then it just got to be where, the more I tuned in with the angels and the more I stepped out in faith and trusted, I still had to go through the lessons, but I didn't feel so alone. you know it's one thing to tell everybody, oh, just keep faith,
Yeah.
but you have to put your money where your mouth's at, or your mouth where your money is, however it goes.
You
You
got to
have to
walk
know.
the talk. Yeah, you got to walk the talk at some point. You've got
And
to integrate
I've
that.
always, a lot of people say, well, they're soft spoken, they're, angel workers, and they're soft spoken, good for them. I've always been blunt and to the point, right? That's the way I am. So when things will go wrong, I would have conversations with God saying, excuse me, hello, I did what you asked me to do. I'm here, and this really sucks.
Right.
I need to know that I'm on the right path. Guide me, show me. But then when you
Right.
do something like that, you have to stay open to get the answer.
And that's
And
easier, said than done.
but the thing about it is, what's the old saying? Fake it until you make it.
That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I
Absolutely.
do is, and I tell my clients this too. Every time you think something negative, that's what you're attracting to you. So what you do, we're all human. We're all going to say that, oh my God, I'm never going to get out of this. What's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. We all have those moments. But the
Yeah.
minute you consciously hear yourself thinking that or saying that, I just
Hmm.
go erase, erase, and I replace it with something positive.
That's a really good thing. And I always think that, sometimes people um, haven't experienced joy in a
Right,
very long time. They forget what it feels like. They feel like they don't deserve it,
right,
or it's just such a concept that, you know, I don't even I don't even know how to get back there. I don't know how to get back there. And, doing feng shui, I go into people's homes a lot. And I go into people's homes and I see what they surround themselves with, and you can tell immediately their frame of mind.
right.
And just for one example, um, I've gone into so many single ladies' homes, and the one thing that they really want is a good relationship.
Hmm.
They want to share their love that they've got in their hearts. And I walk in their home, and every painting, every picture, everything that I look to see is solo. There is one woman in a picture. There is a picture of them by themselves. There are, let's say, one of every animal. They'll have one elephant, or they'll, have one little kitty cat somewhere, or, and you just see that solo flight everywhere you look.
Right,
And a lot of times we're not even conscious that that's what's going on. We're expressing our single life so intensely. And a lot of times, if you provide that shift, and you display a romantic couple, or you display yourself really happy, perhaps with someone else in a picture. Um, or a lot of times, even if you just pair up animals in your home, have two birds, not one, have two elephants, not one,
Right.
have twin Buddhas, even, right? Um, it makes all the difference because you shift your mindset to
Right.
coupling, right? And
Right.
like you were saying, you open yourself up, to a gateway for relationships. So
Right.
yeah, yeah, it's one of those things, that well, I walking in with a trained eye can tell exactly what's going on in the home, and you can feel it as well. So everybody out there who wants to have a relationship, also
Double up.
double up. Also, yeah, double the pleasure.
Right.
Um, Also, display the flower peony or peony, however you'd like to pronounce it. But if you display a picture or you display peonies, the flower, it attracts a worthy relationship. It's not going to be a drive-by, it's not going to be a heartache, it's not going to be anything like that. In fact, they instruct mothers to display peonies in the entryway into the living room if they have a daughter who is of age for a relationship and marriage, so that it attracts someone who's worthy of
Right.
their daughter. Yeah. And so I did that. When it was my turn, I did that. And boy, they're still married and everything's great. So there you have it.
Well, you
Two
deserve
great
it.
considered.
You
Yeah.
know, the thing about this one, I talk with my clients, and like you said, most of them want, a relationship,
Yeah.
right? Or they say they want a relationship, but when you actually talk to them, it's all me, 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 me. They really don't. They're not putting the energy into, like you said, pairs. Have pairs of things,
Yeah.
right? And so, and the lack of joy in their life. You
Hmm.
know, we attract, well, whatever energy we're putting out there. And like you said, to bring joy in, I tell some of my clients, remember, at least for me, what was always joy filled times was being on the swings with your best friend, swinging and feeling the air rush through your hair, or as a little girl, I can remember walking barefoot in the rain,
Yeah.
connecting with Mother Earth,
Yeah.
and having that groundness, So whatever it is that you're thinking about energetically,
Mhm.
and setting, like you said, setting your home up for, you have to be able to draw in what it is that you truly want.
Exactly. And um, the scary part, the scary part about that is that if you've been on your own for a while, you've developed a certain way of doing things, and you're in control. You're the captain of your ship.
Right.
And um, a lot of times I have to give sort of a preview of what it's going to look like if we don't address this. And what it's going to look like is you are going to attract someone in a relationship that you can control. Because a lot of people don't want to give up that independence, but yet they want that great relationship.
Right.
Um, and I see this in the chart a lot when I do astrology, there are so many lessons to learn solo and by yourself, and how to stand on your own 2 feet, how to be independent, how to think for yourself. Just like what you were describing, you were a little scrapper. You always knew, you had to depend on yourself, right? But the thing is that when you've always done that, a lot of times you're in charge of your money. You're in charge of where you go and who you have, and the sharing. Um, and in your chart, there's a specific combinations of planets that say you're ready to share because
Right.
you've learned your lessons and now it's time to learn lessons through relationship. And so a lot of times, you know, people will want a relationship and I'll say, it's on its way, but you're not quite finished learning the lessons on your own just yet to be able to surrender
Right.
the control. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm so glad I can see the indicators and to make up timelines for people and to help them into the shift. And when it happens, it's better to have the universe behind you, right? We've done that so many times where we've heard, a shift and we're supposed to move or we're supposed to do something. And we get there and it hasn't, it hasn't cultivated to its fullest yet. Right.
Right.
And then it's like, oh man, now I got to go through another shift.
Right. But the thing about it is, as long as you're going through the shifts, then you're still alive and you're still learning. Right.
You are. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
2020 for me, talk about shifts. 2020 was hell for me. I was hospitalized twice with COVID.
Oh, no.
I got shingles for the first time and
Oh,
hopefully
no.
hopefully
Oh,
for the last time. I was diagnosed with breast cancer and had a double mastectomy all
wow.
within 12 months.
Wow.
And talk about having to, and people go, how did you get through that? And my first response is, I didn't know I had a choice. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I can remember that I got the call at work, and I literally screamed when I got
Oh,
it just came out, and I left work and I was angry with God. I was very angry. And I just told him that this is not the way I'm going out. I know I wrote in my chart somewhere for my happily ever after. Don't have it yet, and I'm not leaving till I get it. So I went through all that. But again, that was a huge shift. And then choosing to stay in Arizona for a little bit longer, moving from down in the valley up to Flagstaff to be with Haley. But then I had vertigo. I knew I needed to go to the mountain, but the mountain gave me a lot of gifts, but I couldn't function there because of vertigo. So I come back to Kansas and I'm thinking, yay, this is it. It feels good. I've come home. I had let go all this other stuff. So I thought.
yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, yeah. And I get here and my furniture doesn't, and my belongings don't show up for almost 3 weeks.
Oh,
And it happened for a reason. And that was because I needed those 3 weeks to finally release all the shit I had left behind here originally that I thought I had cleared
oh,
out, but I had not released yet. So many a night that for those first 3 weeks, I cried myself to sleep. I had a blow up bed and I had a lounge chair, and that was it. Right. And I let things go. But I was thinking, your first thought is like, why the hell did you have me come back if I was going to have to go through all this?
right.
But for me to be able to move forward, I had to go through all those other experiences that I went through in Phoenix and in California and back to Phoenix and back up to Flagstaff to come back here to be able to say, okay, look at all the lessons you learned from all that stuff that happened. Now you're back here and you truly are ready to release the crap that I had left here.
You've gone through so much, and my hands in the air as well. When you start, going on this spiritual journey, and you're meditating, and you're healing, and you're getting to this higher dimension, there's so much work in healing that
It is.
has to go back generational.
Mhm.
And it just seems like there's specific people chosen to do this kind of work,
Right.
chosen to and because there's so many going through and experiencing breast cancer, which is of course the heart chakra, and going through the initiation of clearing, cleansing, reconnecting, realigning, um, letting in new codes and things like that. So much has to be released.
Right.
And my sister went through it as well. And I just have to feel that there is an over reason, and it has to do with breaking up all of this past in our families, the generational abuse and the heartache and a lot of that our generation has taken on.
Right.
Now, the next generation may take on another form of something that they're assigned to heal in a generational thread. But I just feel in my heart that that is our purpose. That's why we go through these kinds of things.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
really believe with the breast cancer, especially. First, I had a hysterectomy with cancer because I had cancer when I was 32, and then to face breast cancer and to have the double mastectomy and to go through all that emotionally, it really hit me that we as a society don't talk about it. I mean, we'll talk about cancer, we'll talk about having a mastectomy, but you don't really hear people talking about what actually transcends from all the emotional, the
yeah,
physical. I mean, it's devastating.
yeah.
But people don't want to hear. In fact, one of my radio shows, I did talk about the brutality and seeing myself, without my breast for the first time and feeling like Frankenstein and totally losing it and screaming and totally coming unglued. And I had a lot of um, people who private messaged me and said, you shouldn't talk about that. And I
Oh,
was like, excuse me?
well, it
I
triggered
do. That's one
fear.
of the
Yeah,
reasons I went through what I went through is where I can, I was lucky. I had a friend who had uh, one breast removed, and she at least helped prepare me for what was happening.
right.
And credit to all the doctors and nurses, they try to prepare you, but
Yeah,
nobody can prepare you emotionally. I mean, some of the stuff that you actually go through. I mean,
yeah,
it's disgusting. It's gross. And then you get home and you're looking at yourself and your body is not your body anymore. And society sexualizes women so much with their breasts, how big they are, how firm they
yeah,
are,
yeah,
all that stuff. Well, now
yeah.
you have, while you're waiting, was not in good enough health to have immediate implants put in. So I had to wait from December to June to have my implants put in. And you feel like less of a woman because society you're not showing enough cleavage. You see young girls or you see actresses or other people
Mhm.
who the more the cleavage the better.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
And
that's the society and all of that. Absolutely. And also when you lose your hair, you have to go through chemo, you lose your hair and
right.
you're just feeling stripped down to the soul,
But I
you know.
truly believe I signed up for this because I'm a voice for those who have gone through it or who are getting ready to go through it, who
Mhm.
knows that I know what I'm talking about when I say this. And that the fact
Right.
is, you're not, we're raised that we are our body.
Mhm.
If you're
Mhm.
overweight or if you're too skinny or if you're this or you're that, you're judged by it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
having breast cancer, what it really brought down to me is the fact that we're not our bodies, we're our soul,
Mhm.
you know? And if people can see into your soul, then you've made a difference, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of people, that experience, near death experiences where they leave their bodies and
Oh yeah,
then they find out, the body's just a vehicle.
it
And,
is.
you find that out and it takes away the fear of death. For me,
Yeah,
it did anyway.
it did me as
Not,
well.
yeah, not afraid to die. I know my soul is separate from
Right.
this you're looking at. And and people that can see auras or can see or feel your vibration, they feel your soul, you know. Um, and I I want to just introduce, if you haven't heard about it, and if you're about to go through a health challenge like breast cancer, there is a wonderful group out there that my sister belongs to. It's called Bosom Buddies, and you are awarded a sister through all of this. And come hell or high water, you know, they show up for you. They're there, you know, the morning you go in, afterwards, follow up, all of that. And they're fabulous. So if you want to be a part of assisting others, it's called Bosom Buddies, and you can contact your association, and they help getting you your hair, your wigs, and all of that, and also your proper undergarments as well. And they also are trained with as good listeners, and
Yes.
they're very good listeners. And so if you are reach out, or if you are interested in becoming one, you can reach out to the American Cancer Society as well, and they will hook you up in your area.
Yeah, they're amazing. If I had thought about it, I would have brought it out where I could show you. I don't sew. I've never been able to sew, never liked it. It stressed me out. It was never relaxing. But one of the greatest gifts I was given through the American Cancer Society, they had this one group there in Phoenix. They made these little heart pillows, you know, and they were about like this big. And what they were for is when after you go through your mastectomy, and you have to go somewhere, you have to put a seatbelt on. Well, that goes right across your
Yes,
chest area, and it hurts,
yes.
you know.
My sister,
And
yep, my
so
sister.
you have these little heart pillows that go in between your chest and the
Mhm.
strap, and it cushions it. And it just the love that these ladies put into these little hearts and to have them heart to heart. I mean, it was amazing.
That's so wonderful, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
just so wonderful.
And my
That's
doctor, I'll never forget, when I went into surgery, before I went into surgery, he goes, you know, I'll be there with you all the way. You know, I want you to know I'll do the best job. I said, well, you're going to have to. I said, because I've called on Archangel Michael, and the other angels are going to be watching over me and over you while you do this surgery. And when I came out of surgery, when they woke me up, he goes, I believe you. I said, you believe me what? He goes, I believe that you called on your angels. He goes, I've never seen this kind of surgery with the intensity that you were going through go as smooth as what it did.
aw.
And I said, well, of course. I called on the angels. They were there for me. So
Yeah,
again, you know, no matter what you're going through, we
yeah.
forget. All we have to do is ask for help.
Very good point. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and they're always
Very,
there every single time.
every single time.
Hmm.
Every single time. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So when, you know, when you are getting validated that, you know, like from your doctor, and, you know, everything is great, do you still look for alternative healing to take the edge off, or to prevent, or?
Well, it's really funny. A lot of people meditate,
Mhm,
and I've never been, been a meditator. I wish I could, but what happens to me if I go into a meditation class or someone's giving a meditation,
mhm,
the minute they start talking, I go to sleep. I'm out of body. I'm gone.
mhm,
So I guess it works, you know. But for
mhm.
me, I don't retain it because I'm not there. You know, on a soul level, I'm sure I'm gathering whatever information they're giving me. So what I do, and if you follow me on Facebook, I'll say I do a baking meditation,
Yeah.
because for me, baking, I love to bake. I love it. And to me, to make something and to share with others, that's love, you know, and I love sharing that. And I Reiki everything I bake. I just automatically,
Oh, I
everything I
love
bake.
that. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So, the things you eat, and what are your favorite crystals? Do you use crystals?
I have a clear quartz crystal that's my master crystal. And then it just, you know, I really don't know a lot of the names of the crystals, but I go to whatever feels good for me. I love amethyst. I love tourmaline. I love shungite. I call shungite the tape, the duct tape of crystals, because shungite you can charge up for whatever you need.
So talk to us a little bit about how you charge your crystals.
Oh, full moon. Whoop, sorry. My Yogi was underneath my feet, and I went to move my foot. He snapped at me like, "Oops, sorry." I put him out. I put him out in the full moon and let him charge up. And there's some, like with my master crystal. After I've put her out in the full moon, then what I do is when she comes back in, I just put my hands in a Reiki thing around her, and I just kind of inhale it, if you will, absorb the energy that comes off of her. But I call my crystals my babies.
Now, your master crystal, when you bring it in from a full moon, does it automatically charge the ones around as well?
Well, I put them all together and sit them out. But
Okay,
my master crystal, I let other people pick up my other crystals and get whatever. But my master crystal, I don't let anybody else touch it. It's mine.
that's yours. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really strange because how I got her. I was at a little psychic fair, if you will, and this lady sitting at a table across from me and down one, she kept looking over at me, and she was selling crystals and she was doing readings or whatever. And I was off in my, when I do a bunch of readings and stuff, it's like, it's a little buzz, so I kind of float just a little bit outside my body, and I kept being pulled to look over at her, and finally she gets up and she goes, "I'm selling crystals over here." And she goes, "I want you to come over and look at them because I think one of them is calling to you." I said, "Okay." So I get up there and I saw her. This is her here.
Oh, okay.
She's she's got some keyholes on her. She's amazing. And I took one look at her. I said, how much do you want for her?" She goes, "She's yours." She gifted me the
Ah,
crystal. She goes, "I heard that wanted to go with you." So it's when I get um, worried or concerned and I need to try to get my focus back, I just grab a hold of her. I just, start talking to God and the angels and saying, "Guide me, show me what is it that I need to know."
uh-huh.
And then, help me to stay open to where I know the answer when it comes to me.
So talk to me, because when we had a conversation in Arizona, you were talking about the crystal beds
Yes.
and as using that as a tool. So what were your experience about that?
That is simply amazing. What I put on it's like a massage table, and what's on the bottom of the massage table, I have a biomat, and it's a heating pad on steroids, is what I call it, but it's filled with amethysts and clear quartz, and it heats up at varying degrees. It depends on, you know, um, I just tune into the client and I ask the angels, guide me, show me what temperature do I need to set them at, whatever, because it kind of heats up your body as well. And then above you is the seven uh, quartz crystals that align with your seven main chakras. So it's a they call it energy light therapy, for lack of a better word for it. And what it
Mhm.
does is it clears your chakras. And I've had
Interesting.
people, myself included, who, when you get on it and, I put earphones on you, let you listen to some really nice music, and I let you stay there for an hour. And then when I come back, I tell you what I picked up for you during that time.
Mhm.
And then I have the client, tell me what they experienced.
Mhm.
Because I don't want anybody to think that I'm just going to repeat back to them what they felt. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
And
right.
but I've been on there and felt like people were working on me physically, like, and they say it's kind of like having a surgery. You're getting stuff cleared off of you that's no longer yours, and you need to
Mhm.
let go of it. And so I tell people when they get off the bed to drink plenty of water and to rest for the rest of the day. But it's amazing. It can really. Um, Mother Mary's come to me when I've been on the bed. My angels and guides, people from the other side have come through,
Mm.
holding my hand while somebody else is working on me, so it really helps clear your chakras, because we as human beings, those are our energy pockets, is what I call them. I'm sure there's a more scientific word for it, but that's how I express it. And we go through all this crap, the shift that happens, and the results of the shifts. And it's like when you clean your house, you gather all up the trash, you sit it by the door, but we forget to take it out. We've cleared the energy, but we've stored it in one pocket, either like in your back, lower back, or your knees, or wherever, because
Mhm.
we forgot to take the trash out. And what this does, it helps clear that energy out of there. And
Wow.
then what happens is we set the intent that as that stuff's being cleared out, positive energy is being filled back into your body.
Wow.
So it's pretty
That's
amazing.
that's very amazing. I've always been so intrigued by those beds, and as far as their capabilities and their availabilities. So not everybody has
Well,
has
it's
them.
pretty interesting. They say that these quartz, the crystals, I mean crystals in the bed, come from Brazil, and they're a high quality. And they've said that they've used these crystals. You can take salt water, and you can transform it into drinking water by using these crystals.
Wow.
So, I mean, they are. I can put my hands underneath the lights, not even get towards you, and my hands just light up. I mean, the energy just whoo. So yeah, I love doing the energy work.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I send energy. I had a friend I worked with whose horse got really sick, her daughter's horse, and they were gonna, they got some kind of energy injury on their left hoof. I think it was the left front hoof, and they were talking about putting the horse down. And I was like, no, don't put the
Mhm.
horse down. Give me
Yeah.
a week. Just give me a week. If you don't see an improvement with the horse, then do whatever you have to do. And
Right.
I think
Oh,
that
good. And you worked on them. Yeah.
the horse is back racing, or they're showing the horse again, and they took first place. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
such a great story.
yeah. I'm an animal lover. I just like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I cleaned out a barn and a stall, and I was walking through, and usually horses can get spooked so easy, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. And I was clapping to break up all of this very dense energy. And I had an amethyst with me. And I got to the end, and this horse had like green stuff coming out of his nose.
Yeah.
And he was just like, crying and so upset and anxiety ridden. And I felt so bad. I was like, I took the amethyst and I just started, you know, going down this way with him, and I could just feel him relax.
Hmm.
And I said, what is the problem? Why are you experiencing this? Is it a virus? Are you sick? What's going on? And full blown conversation,
Yeah.
third eye to third eye here. And he told me that he was over at a different farm eating different food, and they transferred him back into this particular ranch. And he was allergic to the food.
Aw.
And so I had the privilege of being able to make that shift happen for that horse,
Right.
to tell the owner of the ranch that he's allergic to the food. She said, I was wondering what it was because he was so healthy over at that other farm. And I said, yeah. And boy, that horse was so chatty. I
The
mean,
thing with horses, I mean, if you ever get the chance to be around another horse, ask its permission, to put your hand on its heart, between the legs where the heart is on the horse.
oh,
It will change you. I
oh,
mean,
wow.
I connected with this horse, a girl who was taking an angel class with me. She has horses, and she had a horse named Pidge. He's since passed, but at the time, he was just amazing. And I thought, God, I asked permission, and he said yes. And again, you're hearing, I'm like, oh, okay, never done this before. And I put my hand, between the legs where the heart is, and I looked him in the eye, and oh my God, tears just ran
Oh,
down my face. It was such a heart to heart connection. It's one
oh,
of the most beautiful experiences you can ever have. So if you get the
oh,
opportunity, a chance to do it, do it.
wonderful. Wonderful. I hope everybody heard that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, my darling, I'm just sort of wondering if it's time to do a read from the chat room. What do you think?
Sure. This sounds
Okay.
good to me.
If anybody's in the chat room and would like to ask a question of our special guest, Miss Peggy Reeser, please put your question in the chat, and I'll see if we can get a little read going here. I know that from what I see, there is someone in the chat. It's a female. Her name is King, and Garen is her last name. I'm gonna open. Okay, I'm gonna open with King real quick, and then we're going to get to Sheila because she wants to know about her health. But I'm going to ask about King for her because she probably can't get into the chat
Yeah,
to
I can't see it. So
communicate. So if you can tune in to King Garen and see if you see anything for her.
But the first thing that's hitting me is the throat chakra. So when that comes up for me, when I'm doing a reading, the first thing I always get is that someone around her is not standing in their truth. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily lying to her, but they're not telling her everything. So what I'm hearing for her is that she needs to get them to open up and to be able to expand on the communication between the two of them. And I'm hearing that she knows exactly who I'm talking about. Um, And I'm also hearing travel. So I don't know if she's recently been traveling or if she's wanting to take a trip. If she's wanting to take the trip, I do feel like she'll have a good trip between now and the end of the year. It feels like, well, this is already September. So end of September, first part of October. So that feels good for her. Now, did you say she had a specific question?
Not really. I just feel as though, she would like to have a little bit of a barometer reading.
Okay. Well, I do feel they're saying that she's on the right path. They're saying that, in fact, I'm hearing the word kudos. It feels like she's been paying more attention to the guidance that she's being given. But I also see her, like, she gets that feeling that, something comes to her and she'll like, where'd that come from? And they're saying trust what she's being given, so she is on the right path. Um, and again, if there's something you're wanting to know of your guides and your angels, you've got to remember to ask. But then on the flip side, you have to stay open to receive the answer.
Very good. And don't doubt what you get.
Yes.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful. Thank
hopefully
you.
that helps.
Thank you, Peggy. And we also have Sheila, and she said, please pick me. Will my health get better?
When will things get better? Is that what you said?
I'm sorry. King just chimed in. Who is my guardian angel? Who is my guardian angel? Or
Well,
perhaps
they're laughing, and I get this a lot too. They're saying you already know, and they're saying that all you need to do is ask, and then that will give you the answer. And the reason for that being, because I have people say, well, you should know, you should just tell them. Well, sometimes they'll block it because they want you to ask the question. So you could start like today and say, okay, I want to know the name of my guardian angel. Don't ask any other question for 7 days, and every day ask the same question. Then pay attention to the names around you that pop up, and you'll hear that inner voice or that inner guidance. It'll be a repetition, and that way you make that connection with your angel or with your guide, and that way you'll know when they're actually talking with you because they want that closer connection.
yeah,
So it's an exercise and practicing talking with them.
conversation.
Yes.
Receiving the messages.
Yes.
Very good. Thank
It
you.
works. Yeah.
Okay, we're back to Sheila. Will my health get better?
I hear it immediately, yes. It's still going to take a little time. It feels like I'm hearing the word tweaking. So I don't know what they've been working with you on. If you've been going to the doctor or whatever, keep doing what the doctors and stuff are saying. You know, I'm not a medical doctor by any means and not going to give medical advice, but I'm hearing for you to have faith. You're being led on the right direction. Um, and again, it feels like there's just some tweaks you need to make to your environment, whether it be your food or I'm hearing food. I think there's something going on with something that you're eating. Um, but overall, I feel like by the end of this year, you're going to be going, what health issue? You know, so I feel like I think she's on the right path. I think it's going to be fine.
Okay.
Keep your thoughts positive.
Keep your thoughts positive.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Very good. All righty. I don't see any other questions. If you do have another question, real quick, we'll take it very, very quickly. Otherwise, Peggy, how can we get a hold of you?
Well, I'm an advisor over at 12 Listen, so you can go there. I'm on the line every single day. Some days all day, and some days just in the evenings. Again, that's 12listen.com. I also have a radio show with a coworker at 12, K Dragon, and we're on the last Thursday of every month. So for the rest of the year, it'll be the 28th of September, October 26th, November 30th, and then 12/28. And the reason we're just doing one show a month right now, Kay and I both are cancer survivors, and we're both, once you've gone through something like this, it takes a little bit to get your full strength and stamina back. So we're just going to try, one show a month, and then hopefully by 2024 we'll be up to maybe doing it every week. So we'll see what happens, but we're leaving that up to the universe. And we had our first show the other night, and I had a blast, and I think she did as well. So come over and join us. We'd love to have you.
I'm getting a real good push for both of you on that show. So good luck with that. And um, also, I'm just so thrilled that you were able to take some time off and come over to my show.
Well, I was so happy to hear from you, and it was my pleasure being here. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely. And she's over at 12listen.com, and you can go there and you can talk to Peggy all you'd like, and you can tune into 12radio.com and catch her show with Miss Kay Dragon, who is a lovely spiritual friend.
She's wonderful.
Well. These two ladies will just inspire you and give you a reason to smile from ear to ear. They're really great, and they're just so down to earth, very relatable.
Yes,
both of them are, for sure. This
Thank
is
you.
such a pleasure, Peggy. And go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, thank you again for inviting me. It was really nice. It was nice catching up with you, and nice to be here.
Absolutely. And don't be a stranger. And when, all of us in the chat room, we can all use some positive vibes and good health healing rays sent out. So make sure that we send it to each other and be kind to each other and help heal each other, because at some point, at some time, you're going to need it too. And at some point and some time, you're going to be very strong, top of your game, where you can blast out a little bit of extra to everybody else.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Absolutely. Right. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for coming along with me for this hour. We are going to be right back here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. And until then, may the angels protect you and guide you. Thanks, Peggy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.